Hi folks, George Durkee, Geography 63, creating a basic map. This will be our video 3 for week 4, where we create our last map for the course. And here I'll go over some more tools. We'll look at merging, buffer, clip, extract by mask for the rasters, DEM, the erase tool, and the swipe tool, plus a couple other housekeeping notes. Okay, if you remember from video 2, we had cleaned up and merged all of the polygons in the campus parcel map. And we still have the original name that I use, Columbia Campus Parcels All, but it's really no longer that. So why don't we change that to properly reflect what we've got here. And for that, we'll go into our folder and the project map. And remember that this is the data we brought in. So that's what we changed. And so we're going to rename the all map so that we know it's no longer all. Just go to rename and let's call it merge. And let's also change it in the contents here. We could pull it out and put it back in, but we'll just change it there. You'll also remember when we were placing our zip file and extracting it that I suggested you hang on to the zip file rather than deleting it right away, just because in case you make mistakes. And the point of that is, so for instance, we had deleted some of the polygons of our campus parcel map. And those are permanent deletions. Once you hit save, they're reflected in the parcel map in your geodatabase. Now, it could be that you didn't want to erase them or you just wanted to do it temporarily. So you would have had two choices. One is before you could start editing, you could right click and make a copy of it and then paste it into the same geodatabase so that you had a copy of the original and could edit and everything would be fine if you messed up or if you still wanted the original. The second, which I kind of recommend in addition to keeping the zip file, is you can right click and you can copy the entire geodatabase and then paste it into the same folder so you've got a backup. And whenever you're making editing changes to original files, that's just always a good idea. Okay, now let's move on to some of the tools. So you remember what we're aiming for here is a cutout section, a clear section that emphasizes what we want people to look at, which is the campus. And we cut that out of the larger county file. And notice also that we have buffered out from the actual parcel polygon and buffered out 100 meters just to, like I've said a couple of times now, give us a little more real estate there so we can just see a little bit of the surrounding area. So that'll be our steps here. So the first thing we do is we go to analysis and we go to tools and lock that into place. And this is really the strength of ArcGIS Pro. Pretty much any geospatial analysis or editing or anything you want to do is somewhere in the toolboxes they have. All of these toolboxes can be expanded into other specific tools to do something, to manipulate your data or analyze it. And there's a zillion of them. So we're just going to go over a few here just to start giving you an idea of what you can do with Pro. And the thing about Pro is that there are so many tools, and you may only use a tool or routine, once or twice every few months, or even once in a year, and you forget about it. You realize that something is possible, but you forget which tool uh, does it or how to get to it. And so I keep notes in Word, and I give each uh, tool or workflow a header, and then I open up the navigation pane, and that gives me headers by subject. And maybe that's a little overdone, but I tend to forget things, or like I've said, use them only once or twice a year. So that just helps me remember stuff. Okay, so onward. Pro also keeps your tools either as recent, or you can save them as favorites if you use them a lot, or if you're doing a project that uses the same tools over and over. So all you got to do is click and add it to either favorites or to the project folder, and then they're always there. So even though I have it here, we're going to use the buffer tool first. And so you just type it into the search bar there, and you get a number of different types of buffer tool. So we're just going to use the first buffer tool here, but you can also use the graphic buffer, which will give you specific shapes around the polygon that you want to put a buffer on. And it can also be any shape you want. It can be a line or a point. And those of you taking my next incident mapping class will use the buffer tool to create a buffer around a trail. And so we'll use that as a search segment. Okay, so click on buffer. And our input is going to be the merged parcel and buffer. And we're going to buffer to 100 meters. So just put that into your title. And your distance is going to be 100, and set it for meters. And here you can set it for full, which is that you're going to create a larger buffer, or you can set it for exclude the input polygon from the file. So that'll just create a ring buffer around it. And that's useful sometimes, and it is when we create a buffer for our trail, but we're going to create a full uh, buffer around it. And then you've got method and whether it dissolves as it goes out, but we'll just accept the defaults there and then run. And so it gives you the history there. And so you can see it's created a full buffer there, and out 100 meters there. So that's what we're after. And we're going to use that to erase a hole in the county boundary file we've got here. So let's go back, get rid of the buffer tool, and now let's bring up the erase tool. And again, you've got several types here, but we're just going to use the first choice. And let's bring up the Tuolumne County boundary, although it doesn't actually have to be active for you to use it. So our input feature here is going to be the boundary. And notice you can check the information box here to tell you. So we'll choose county boundary. And the erase feature is going to be the buffer that we just created. And we'll keep it as erase and run. So let's take a look here, get rid of that, and we'll get rid of the county boundary. And notice how it's created a little hole here, so it emphasizes what we want folks to see. And a little later, we'll put that to gray, add transparency, and see through to the map. So let's clean up a little here. We no longer need the Tuolumne County boundary, so we'll put that in Scratch. And we don't need the buffer parcel layer. And we really don't need the other building layer. I'm not using it, but as I've said, you guys can use that if you prefer. And now let's turn off the layer there and save. Okay, next let's clip the roads. Now remember that I've got all of the county roads in here, and we just need a subset for our map. So to do that, we need to create a polygon, a rectangle, that will be our area that is the clip template. So let's kind of decide what roads we want to show. Probably just this general area here. We're going to create a new layer, which will be our template to clip from. So we have to create it, and we go to our geodatabase, and we go to either one. Let's just use our active one here. And right-click, New, and Feature Class, and we'll call this Road Clip Template. Road Clip. And it'll be a polygon, and that's all we need. We won't need any fields or anything like that. And so highlight that road clip here, go to Edit, go to Create, and choose Road Clip, and we'll choose the rectangle, and we'll just draw a rectangle, just roughly here, and I'm just winging it. So there. So that'll be our area where we'll clip the roads from. And we save, close editing, clear our selection. As a side note, I probably should have made that a little straighter, but it'll work for our purposes here. Okay, back to analysis. Bring up tools, clip it into place, and look for a clip. So extract input field that overlays the clip. And our input feature will be the Tuolumne County roads, all. And the feature that will clip them will be our road clip. And we'll just call it clip campus, say. Okay, and then we run that. And there we go. And so we get rid of the boundary for the moment, and we'll get rid of the roads. And notice how it's just clipped to the roads that we want. So now we can throw those down in Scratch. And you might need all the roads, but let's just put them in Scratch anyway. Now, while we're here, let's clip a raster of the digital elevation model. Notice how it extends all the way up here, but we're just going to want sort of this central area here. We could use the same polygon we just did for the roads, but let's make it a little bigger here. So once again, let's go back and we're going to create a new polygon and new feature class raster clip DEM and clip raster DEM, and it's just going to be a simple polygon. And it'll be the same process here. Highlight it, start an editing session, and then create. And let's do another polygon. We'll try and do it a little straighter. So here's the rough area here. And just go to the edge there. Okay, that's fair. But you guys can decide on your own sizes and so on, what you think looks best. Obviously, I'm just demoing here. Okay, so now we're going to use a slightly different tool here, and we're going to use the extract tool. It's extract by mask, and that's one you might want to put in your notes because you might not remember. If you look at the description here, it tells you what it does here. So we'll use that. So our input feature will be the DEM, and the output mask will be the clip raster, and it gives it a name. So Columbia, let's give it a better name. Columbia DEM extract. And you can decide you want inside or outside the polygon. So we want inside and run. And incidentally here, I've been pausing as we go here. So the routines, that one took 2 minutes and 20 seconds. You can hit history here and you get an idea of how how fast things go. And also, um, it's not uncommon to get an error message, and those are often a pain to troubleshoot. But here again, Google is your friend, so look up the error and mention ArcGIS Pro, and then give the error number or the full message, and see if you can find a fix for it. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We got extract. So let's get rid of the DEM, and uh, it takes a little bit of time to build there, but we got it. Yay. So once again, let's do some housekeeping. We can get rid of the clip, the scratch. We can get rid of our original DEM, and we can get rid of the DSM. I mentioned that in the first video. They're really cool, but we won't be using it, or I won't be using it. But if you guys think it'll add something to your map, or you want to emphasize it, then great, go ahead and use it. Okay, let's go in here. Now, if you remember from the first video, I had a hillshade, and now I'll show you how to make hillshade from the DEM. So highlight the feature class, and then we go over to raster functions. Hit the drop down, and we'll pin that into place and look up hillshade and start that. So what hillshade does is it looks at the digital elevation model, and the pixels each have a height value. So what it can do is it creates an effect of the sun uh, shining on the area, so it gives it shadow, and that gives it depth, like coming over ridges and things like that. And you can vary that, but the defaults are pretty good. Choose our extract, and we'll just take the defaults as they are and create layer. And that's usually pretty quick. So let's get rid of our DEM, let the hillshade build, and there we go. We have a ground-based hillshade. And notice how that is quite different from the DEM we've just extracted. So you can see the stream and depressions here. So anyway, we just get rid of that, and shows up really nicely. Okay, cleanup again. Let's get rid of the DEM, that scratch, and I think we're good there. And if you're inspired, you can make a hillshade of the DSM. That's what gives you that cool surface model. Okay, I think we've pretty much assembled our data here and what we're going to work with to come up with the map that looks like what we're aiming for. So let's see what we have and arrange it in the best way. So we'll put the county boundary underneath underneath the buildings and the roads. Roads are on the top. Let's put the park course above the roads. And let's show the boundary of the campus. And one more to get rid of. Let's get rid of road clip. And for the moment, we'll leave the hillshade off. It takes a little while to build, so I'm just leaving it off. Okay, so the first thing, let's just make the campus parcel merged into just an outline. And let's change the colors, the outline color. Let's go for a dark green, say, and increase the, let's try 3 points and see what we end up with. Yeah, that's pretty good. And next, let's do the symbology of the county feature. Now for that, let's go for a gray. Choose between the light grays here. And let's apply that and see what we end up with. And now let's go to the feature layer and let's increase the transparency. You can, that's going kind of slowly, but let's just write in a number. Let's give it, let's say 40% and see what we end up with. That's pretty good for a start. And center it a little bit here. Let's save. I'll have a little timer going to remind you to save. And so that's just a good basic draft to go with. So we're kind of finished here in the sense that we've got everything set up. So I'll do a couple more things, but from here on, it'd be great if you guys did better with the park course. You know, that's essentially a trail. So when you look at the symbology there, you can either use roads or trails. You might consider uh, like a light gray line, a dotted line, or something like that. And for roads, of course, you can just look up the various road symbols and see what works best. Now, also fool around with the base map. So right now it's a topographic map, but you might want to try, let's see what imagery without labels does for us here. And also I noticed that my multi-patch went to white for some reason. Let's go back to blue, even though I'm not sure that's what we want, but let's try it. And for that, you've also got to do the outline color. Try blue there and apply. There we go. Let's go in a little closer here. And I just covered up a tiny little mistake. I had put the hillshade into Scratch and left the DEM. So I just reversed that and brought up the hillshade here. Let's center that a little bit. And now let's look at the swipe tool. So for that, we're highlighting the hillshade and going up to the raster tools here and swipe. And we're comparing it here to the satellite image down below. And more a how-to, although it is kind of interesting here. But that's just how to use that. And to get out of it, you right-click and exit. Now, As a side note, with your hillshade, you're not necessarily restricted to the black to light gray here as you are here. You've got other color choices that you can base on the elevation profile. So for instance, this in a 3D in a scene view, I did a earth tones using the hillshade and the ground layer, which comes out semi-realistic. And later on, I added the lidar trees to it. Anyway, just an example of what you can do. And I got the original idea from, once again, John Nelson's video page. Okay, so I think that does it. You've got all the data you need. As I've said several times now, just get the roads, labels, and all that sort of thing. So it makes a good map. And then to turn it in, I'll cheerfully admit I'm waffling here. You could, and I'd be okay with it, give me a screenshot, two, one with hillshade and one without, and send it to me in JPEG or PDF or whatever you can generate. Or if you have time and this hasn't gotten too long, go ahead and insert a layout to print, and probably, I don't know, legal size landscape would be best. And if you remember for that, uh, you have to choose a map frame. In this case, we'll use the map we actually have. And then you've got to draw it out. And with luck, you also remember that if you have to move the map to center it, you have to activate it. And that allows you to actually move the map within the frame. And then to take it out of activation up here in the upper left, just go back. And for that as well, go through the steps to print and go to PDF. And again, do it with hillshade and without, just so I can see you did hillshade. And one last housekeeping side note here, which I don't think I mentioned here, is all those intermediate steps when we were doing buffers and things like that. All of those, unless you specifically designated our working geodatabase, went into the project geodatabase, which is created when you create your project. And so, here are some of the buffers that I did as tests and things like that. So it might seem a little confusing working with two geodatabases, but here's your core from the zip file, and here's your working one where all your work product goes to, unless you designate it otherwise. Okay, uh, thanks a lot. And obviously, there were a lot of steps in this one, so questions, anything like that, send me a note. Thanks.